City Council member Curran D. Price Jr., the California Wellness Foundation, MWD, AQMD, and the Port of Los Angeles. Caring about the climate, caring about the community, changing the conversation. We're KBLA Talk, 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. That's the theme song, the walk-on music for the national leader, one of the national leaders for Braver Angels, a former nominee for Congress, former vice chairman of the Republican Party of LA County. He's also a writer and a musical artist on subjects that include racial and political reconciliation. And as far as I know, the only Republican host on this talk radio station, John Wood Jr., welcome.
As far as I know, too. Good morning, Dominique.
As far as you know, too. Have you been checking, doing some research?
Not that I've noticed, unless y'all snuck another one by me.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, well, that's all right. It's good to stand up.
Yeah. Tavis does have a lot of Republican guests. I will say that more than I do. Not as many as CNN, but more than I do.
Yeah, right. Well, now I'm happy to be your Republican friend, Dominique.
Yes, I'm happy to be your progressive friend.
There you go. One of us managed to sneak in under each other's radar, so that works out. That works out okay.
So you're a Republican, but you're not a MAGA Republican. And
no.
Why do you say it like that?
No, not really. Well, I mean, I just, I was sort of, not to try and advertise myself as having Trump derangement syndrome or anything like that, but I was sort of sounding the alarm about Trump. Even prior to the birther campaign, of course. I mean, and that's really where my beef with Trump begins, was how he treated Obama. Prior to that, I just thought he was sort of a wildly kind of irresponsible voice, and just kind of the way he's entertaining, right? But I would see him on Fox News and whatnot. I would just be like, this guy is somebody who sort of talks out of the side of his mouth, and I felt didn't really think things through deeply. But the thing about it is, I tried to, both Republicans and Democrats, I tried to tell people a long time ago that, like, I was concerned about Trump running because I always thought Trump could win. I mean,
really?
Way, way back, I thought if he ever makes up his mind. And the reason I thought that, I mean, as early as 2014, 2015, because, he's been talking about it for years. But the reason I thought that is just because, the trend of American politics for, that whole period of time was that it was becoming more and more like reality TV.
Oh, that's true.
And Donald Trump was a celebrity with 100% name recognition in American society. Even before he stepped into politics, and in an era where we pay attention according to just sort of how wild the thing is that's being said, that to me seemed like an advantage, because a guy like that, I figured, was going to suck up all of the attention and probably bring people to the polls who wouldn't have voted otherwise, just because they're voting because they're entertained.
Yeah.
And, I don't think too many other people were thinking about it like that early on. And so, CNN and MSNBC and, all the networks, they poured all of this coverage on Trump in the Republican primary way back in the 2016 election, thinking he was a joke. And now it's not so funny.
No, it's not funny at all, to be
folks.
honest. Yeah, I think that's right. I didn't see it coming because I just didn't think people would vote for someone who constantly lies. But one of the things that I underestimated was the way that the show, The Apprentice, really built him up to be more of a successful businessman than he actually is. And also this idea that some people look to him as a hero, almost like a Marvel Comics character, because of being the guy with the golden potty and the hot babes and the fancy penthouses in Manhattan, and in a two-dimensional sense, seeing him as this successful person that everything he touched turns to gold, when in fact many of his Trump Steaks, Trump Airlines, Trump University have failed.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think, you look at the roster of Trump's businesses, there's a catalog of failures. Mitt Romney said a brilliant businessman. He is not sort of going down the same list you were going down. But the one thing I think Trump is actually very good at is a sort of marketing. He's very good at marketing himself. Very good at branding himself. Very good at putting his own personality front and center. And look, I mean, I'm somebody who worked, I worked a number of sales jobs out of high school and whatnot. Trump is, he's one of those guys who's willing to get up there, and whatever it is he's selling, it is the best thing in the world.
We have the best people.
It is going to solve all your problems. And the truth is that, that was the other thing that made me think that Trump could be politically viable, because there's sometimes a difference between a salesperson and a politician, and sometimes the difference is that a salesperson remembers that it's always an emotion that gets people to buy, right? And it's not necessarily the nuances of policy. It's not necessarily sort of, the intellectual arguments. It's telling people the things that they want to hear. And even if they know they don't make sense, but if you just keep hammering it home over and over and over again, the thing that somebody wants to hear, they will give themselves permission to believe it eventually, right? And so Trump, I think, knows that and lives by that, right? I do have a question for you, though. Do you, well, first of all, let me ask you this, Dominique. You are progressive. Do you consider yourself to be a populist, or is that a term, label that you adopt or resonate with yourself?
I mean, the way that populist has been co-opted by the far right and craven conservatives, really fascism, is now being disguised as populism. I hesitate to say it. I always have considered myself that, in the sense of I believe in direct democracy, one man, woman, one vote, no electoral college, no filibuster, proportional representation. I believe that it is the majority that should be, whose voices should be heard, and we have so many mechanisms in our republic to keep that from happening. Right. So in that sense, yes, but in the sense that it's being tossed around today, I would say no, because who's a populist? Trump, Bolsonaro,
Well, you're probably then, I think you're giving me an answer to what was going to be my follow-up question, but just to sort of play devil's advocate a little bit, I mean, one thing I notice is that there does seem to be sort of a populist, I guess something of a left-right populist coalition that is emerging around Trump. Now, if you go all the way back to 2016...
Where's the left part?
Well, I mean, I'll tell you in a sec, but just if you go all the way back, well, just give you the history though. I mean, if you go all the way back, and you'll remember. I mean, Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump were sort of ascendant at the same time. Yeah, in the Republican and the Democratic.
And a lot of people really feel that Bernie could have beat Trump.
A lot of people feel that Bernie could have beat Trump because I think they feel like the country was moving in a populist direction one way or the other. But Bernie lost in his primary, and Trump won.
Bernie got
was robbed,
shanked
right?
by the Democratic Party.
Right, so yeah, I mean, depending on how...
Stalwarts, as we call them.
Well, yeah, so I mean, yeah, if we dig into it, right? But, there were people, who were pretty hardcore for Bernie on the basis of populism, who wound up voting for Trump.
Right, and I would argue they were never left. Those Bernie bros were never left.
I guess this is why I'm wondering about like the significance of the term populism and if there's value in populism per se, right? At least in your view, because so like Joe Rogan would be an example of somebody like that.
But when was he ever on the left? Never, ever in the history of never. He was
does supporting Bernie Sanders not make him somebody who was on the left? Because he was for Bernie. He was strongly for Bernie.
But a lot of those Bernie bros were just it was based on self-interest. I think. I don't think it was based on the greater good and the rise of the working class.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know Joe personally.
That should be. Well, you don't have to know. But hear what he says.
Here's another.
Hear how his whole nose is up Donald's crack at the moment.
Well, but like, so what does a guy like Joe Rogan have to benefit from, like, single payer health care or whatnot? Like, he was for those things back then. Okay, other examples. So, you've got RFK, right? And obviously he ran his own campaign and so forth. Do you think
you're talking about RFK today?
Robert Kennedy Jr.
Yeah.
But my point here though is that he has I'm just devil's advocate here, Dominic. But he has a set of sort of policy positions that, wouldn't you say, traditionally line up a little bit more on the populist left side? He's anti-big pharma.
But right? You're talking about RFK right now.
Yeah, Robert Kennedy, right? And those positions are now sort of, I guess, potentially within the Trump populist movement. Now Sean O'Brien, Teamsters
so
Union,
that
right?
is why
Pro-labor,
I say
right?
It is fascism disguised as populism, because whatever their weird policy positions are, their personal individual self-interest, it can be cloaked. And I think in a sense that's the entire Trump playbook. Pretending he's going to help the working class, pretending he's going to help the greater good of the population while he's handing out party favors to his billionaire friends.
Okay. I'm trying to find a silver lining, Dominique.
We'll work on that. Actually, I think when we come forward, let's look a little bit at the RFK situation, because I do think there's a HOTEP / holistic health sort of overlap. I'm not sure it's helpful, but it's definitely there with RFK. And what does that mean? I'd be interested to get your thoughts on that. And of course, you're welcome to call. It's always fun to talk with John Wood Jr. We agree on very little politically, but we actually, one thing that we do agree on always is robust dialogue to get to some actual thinking, not just a bunch of sitting around lying. 800-920-1580. We are KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
Somebody bring out the confetti, baby!
Starting Monday, January 6th, KBLA Talk 1580 has a new midday lineup.
I'm excited.
Are you ready for Tavis Smiley, Dr. Cornel West, Jesse Jackson Jr., D.L. Hughley, and E. Quarterly Corte back-to-back?
Oh, my God.
Are you really ready for all this smoke?
I'm ready, brother.
Yes, we still have Dominique DiPrima in the mornings and Zoe Williams in the evenings, but middays just got lit on KBLA Talk 1580.
We on fire.
All across America, people are talking about our new midday lineup. Starting Monday, January 6th, our KBLA 1580 app downloads are on fire because everybody's going to be tuning in.
Yes, I love you guys. You are the bomb.
Now would be a good time to hit up SMB at KBLA1580.com if you want folks to hear about your business or brand. That's SMB at KBLA1580.com. It's going up in 2025 on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's going up.
That's what I want.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now.
800-550-9651.
Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 five-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-550-9651. That's 800-550-9651. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
As a mom, comforting my family is what I do best. Vicks Vapor Stick provides soothing, non-medicated Vicks vapors in an easy-to-apply stick. And it dries fast, so there's no mess. I use it to comfort myself and my family.
Thanks, Mom.
Vicks Vapo Stick, soothing comfort for the whole family. And when you need more comfort for yourself, try Vicks Vapo Shower Max for steamy Vicks Vapors. Use as directed. Vapo Stick for use ages 4 and up. Vapo Shower Max use for adults only.
Hey, can you blow up some balloons for Jack's party?
I can't. I'm so congested.
You need Sinex Saline from Vicks.
Sinex Saline Nasal Spray?
Yeah, just Sinex. Breathe.
Sinex Saline instantly clears everyday congestion associated with colds and year-round allergies with a gentle, ultra-fine mist that's no mess and easy to control.
Daddy, we need more balloons.
On it.
Enjoy life's important moments without congestion. Try Sinex Saline from Vicks. Just Sinex. Breathe. Use as directed.
Give the star in your life the brightest gift in the world. Name a star after them. This is Rocky Moselle with International Star Registry. For $59 and a call to 800-282-3333 or visit starregistry.com, you can name a star for birthdays, weddings, or even memorials. Over 45 years, we have named millions of stars for celebrities and individuals from around the world. The star you name will be recorded in book form in the U.S. Copyright Office. Visit starregistry.com or call 800-282-3333.
The conversation continues right now with Dominique DiPrima on First Things First.
KBLA Talk 1580. My colleague John Wood Jr. is here. You can hear him on Sunday mornings at 9, the Reconstruction Project with John Wood Jr.
Yes, ma'am.
Braver Angels is a thing. You can, what's the website? I should know.
BraverAngels.org, nation's largest grassroots cross-partisan organization working on political dialogue and depolarization. Check us out.
I'm laughing because everyone knows I think bipartisanship is a unicorn.
Well, but see, there's this
an Easter bunny.
There's a couple different levels of that. I mean, there's bipartisanship in government, but then there's the thing that, we do focus on government, but even more than that, we focus on you and your neighbor, you and your family, you and your classmate, right? You and your colleague. And our ability to actually be able to talk about things and work about things as American people. I'm concerned with politics. I'm even more concerned about democratic society, right? Yeah. And that actually goes beyond just office holders in the ballot box. So
yeah, and I've I've been to at least one of your Zooms, and it was really interesting. I do think I
got to get you back.
Of course, I do recognize that bipartisan politics and cross-partisan conversation, dialogue, is two different things. Are two different things. All right, let's go to Paul calling us from L.A. Good morning, Paul. You're on with John Wood Jr. and me.
Good morning, Dominique. Hey, Brother John, how you doing today?
Doing real well, brother. How about yourself?
Man, I can't call it. I actually had the opportunity to meet John through one of a mutual friend, Kenyon. Great brother. Appreciate you, man.
Oh, yeah, man. Yeah, absolutely, brother. How you been, Paul?
Man, I can't call it, King. Still got work to do out here. But, I just, I'm tapping into the conversation that you two are having right now. And I'm just kind of reminded just in general from not just a historical standpoint, just of what we're coming into. And I just wanted to get you two thoughts on it. That I just think we're coming into like a Gilded Age part 2 right now, where there's just a prosperity amongst like the wealthiest of the wealthy, where there's economic growth, but the wealth is only going amongst a small percentage of people. And what's interesting about that is when we look at things from a standpoint of how do we get here, a lot of this has to do with a lot of religion and Christo-fascism and nationalist movements, in my opinion. And if you go back to like the founders of the country overall, most people forget that a lot of those people were deists. They didn't, because they wanted to keep the separation of church and state. There was an article recently that came out that was saying about based on faith-based investors, about $24 billion has been implemented overall into not just into politics, but also to influence and push corporations and businesses to push away from diversity, equity, and inclusion. I just want to get you guys' thoughts on that.
That's really interesting. There's a film, Bad Faith, the director was on. And it's a documentary. It's on Prime, actually. And it really traces how that Christo-fascism has intentionally influenced politics, that it's not something that sort of naturally happened, but it was part of a blueprint.
Right. Well, there's certainly a real and perhaps rising strain, and it's not new exactly, but there is certainly a real and perhaps rising strain of philosophical and cultural thought in American society, which essentially says that, not only is this a Christian nation in its roots and in its founding, not only is this a nation that would benefit from a prevalence of Christianity in our culture, but this is a nation that can only be morally and culturally saved if Christianity asserts some muscular presence within the levers and mechanisms of government in American society, right? And I think that that's where the most sort of dangerous kind of manifestation of this kind of, Christian nationalism comes to play. I'm a Christian. I'm somebody who believes
Mike Pence is an
in
example of that
of,
to me, because it's like it's a theocracy is really what they're talking about, which doesn't mean that you can't be a Christian or that one can't be a Muslim. What it means is that we are imposing one faith upon our citizens, and that's something that is unconstitutional.
Yeah, I don't know if Mike Pence is an example of that. I think that there are certain issues where we can have a legitimate debate over, abortion policy is obviously one where religious values intersect, but it's still a question of civil liberties versus how do you define.
Yeah, but Mike Pence is way over in, forced prayer in schools, posting 10 commandments in educational institutions, and now the current president-elect is talking about defunding schools based on, what they're teaching and whether or not they're actually offering freedom of thought in terms of religious thought.
Well, yeah. So, but that's a step. That's a step beyond some of those traditional issues that I think Mike Pence has tended to be concerned with. And then I think that there's sort of a question of, are we talking about policies that states have a right to enact based on sort of the popular sort of will of the voters within their states versus sort of imposing a federal regime of kind of religious practice.
So you're saying it's okay that if we have a statewide Taliban as opposed to a national federal Taliban, John?
Well, I mean,
really?
I think
That's what you're saying?
I think that there is a constitutional argument, not for statewide, Taliban per se, but I do think that you can make a respectable constitutional argument that says that the founding fathers more or less envisioned a system that could somewhat work along those lines. Now that doesn't mean
okay, we're going to agree to disagree on that. As states start funding religious schools, which is about to happen with the voucher programs that this current.
But this is why I say that sort of an issue goes beyond what it is. Goes beyond what it is I'm saying, because there's a public guarantee to public education, right? And so, the question of whether or not, you might have for, schools that receive state funding, sort of, the latitude to have prayer in schools is different from the question of whether or not you're going to fund schools at all, depending on whether or not they have prayer in schools.
I want to circle back to something, because we only have 2.5 minutes before news, traffic, and sports, that Paul started with, which it seemed like what he was getting at with this Gilded Age too, was that we have entered an apparent oligarchy. I mean, we've always had those oligarchical tendencies, but right now you've got a shadow president in Elon Musk and a cabal of tech bros pulling the strings for their own profit. Palantir, taking over just these Pentagon contracts so that we can eventually they would love to have all of our defense systems be in software. Like the robber baron thing is really real right now.
Well, what's wild about that is that a lot of the people who are seeking to empower Elon Musk and some of these interests that you're talking about are seeking to do so in the name of challenging what they consider to be the oligarchical interests as represented by the Democratic Party. It's like, so you've got a problem with Hollywood and Silicon Valley elites having too much power in government, so you want to give power over the federal government to one Silicon Valley elite in the name of Elon Musk. Keep in mind, Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy now essentially are directing a quasi-cabinet level agency with, something that amounts to consultative discretion over $2 trillion worth of federal spending, at the same time as Elon Musk holds more federal contracts than anybody in the United States of America.
And what is that, the deep state, or is its opposite?
Well, right, and so that's a great that's the great question, right? Are we replacing one deep state with another in some sense, and are we so enthralled to sort of the personality following of one individual, not even Trump here, but Musk, right? That people who call themselves libertarians and so forth, like Rand Paul, would leap over everything they ever said before about not vesting too much power in one individual, right? In order to basically see their own ideological agenda ran forward through government, in contrast to some of their previous stated
how
principles.
is it not an oligarchy? You got Patrick Soon-Ching over at the LA Times and Jeff Bezos at the Washington Post, conspiring to not endorse and then rushing to give millions to the inaugural fund. I think it's yesterday, Mark Zuckerberg announced that they're getting rid of fact-checking on the Meta platforms, and they're going to do community notes. Wonder where they got that idea from. Community notes, which allows Elon Musk to lie every single minute of every day. We've got news, traffic, and sports. Hold your thought. Okay. We'll get your response when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is an intervention. When we come forward, includes you. KBLA Talk 1580, turning pain into power.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 things you should know from BIN News. Vice President Kamala Harris announced Donald Trump as the winner of the 2024 election, stating America's democracy stood. After the Electoral College count, she highlighted her duty to ensure a peaceful transition of power. Overall crime in New York City dropped 3% in 2024. Police Commissioner Tisch noted a decline in murders, burglaries, and transit crimes, but rapes and felony assaults rose. More officers will patrol subways. Pope Francis named Cardinal Robert McElroy as the new Catholic Archbishop for D.C., succeeding Cardinal Wilton Gregory, who is past retirement age. Gregory, D.C.'s first black archbishop, was elevated to cardinal in 2020. And the lead defense attorney for rapper YNW Melly, accused of double murder, is under investigation. A hearing was halted when prosecutors confirmed the investigation. Another hearing is scheduled for today. I'm Bree Wood on the Black Information Network, your home for Black News First.
Your local Staples has hot deals and super low prices throughout the store on everything for your business. And right now at Staples, save up to $175 off your print order. Exclusion supply. Visit staples.com/print for details. Ends 2/1. Plus, save even more with the Easy Rewards program at Staples.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Clippers lost a close one in Minnesota last night. They fell short to the Timberwolves 108-106. A strong game from Clipper center Ivica Zubac, 17 points, 16 rebounds, and 6 block shots. Kawhi Leonard, playing in his second game this season, remains on a minutes restriction to protect his right knee. Leonard had 8 points in 21 minutes. The Clippers are at Denver Wednesday night. The Lakers are back in action tonight. They're at Dallas. The UCLA women's basketball team, ranked number 1 in the nation, is at Purdue tonight. The Bruins are 15-0, 4-0 in the Big Ten. USC's women's basketball team, ranked 4th in the country, is at number 8 Maryland Wednesday night. The Chargers made an interesting move on Monday. They signed free agent running back Ezekiel Elliott. Elliott was cut by the Dallas Cowboys last week. The Chargers might use him in Saturday's wildcard playoff game at Houston. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Somebody's been praying for me.
Thanks to the generous support of the KBLA Talk 1580 delegation, we were able to donate 545 pounds of coats and blankets to the LA Mission this winter season.
Hallelujah, hallelujah.
The LA Mission expressed its deep gratitude for our gift all over social media, but we wish to thank them and all the other service providers who look out daily for the less fortunate in our community, finding our happy by being helpful.
Hallelujah.
We're KBLA Talk 1580, where we do more than just talk.
Somebody's been praying for me.
So this new dose is... nope, that's not it. The price is nowhere to be found.
Mr. Green? Hi, it's all good. We've got this.
This is not just help from a Walgreens pharmacist.
Oh, new prescriptions. Cool. Let me check to see if these are the lowest cost options covered by your Medicare plan.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
This is someone supporting you every step of the way. Chat with a pharmacist today to find help saving. This is the human kind of help. Walgreens.
I occasionally have nerve discomfort in my hands, so the things I love to do...
Let's play something, Grandma.
...became difficult as I got older.
If you have occasional stabbing and burning in your hands and feet, try Nervive Nerve Relief. Nervive's clinically studied dose of alpha-lipoic acid reduces occasional nerve discomfort in as little as 7 days with continued daily use. Say yes to healthy nerves with Nervive Nerve Relief. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Cashback is not available on gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin. Hey, good morning. You're heading to the airport, right?
Yep, thanks for checking. I like the car. How long have you been a rideshare driver?
About 3 years now. I really enjoy it.
Isn't it hard to make money these days with the price of gas being so high?
Not for me. I use Upside, the free app that gives you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait a minute. Are you saying you actually get real money back when you get gas with the Upside app?
Yep, I get real cash back every time I get gas.
Does that actually add up to anything?
I'll make around $200 to $300.
Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the Upside app now.
Download the free Upside app now to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code MOTOR for an extra 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank account, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code MOTOR for a 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code MOTOR.
This is KBLA Talk 1580, where hate meets a scholarly match.
Hey. Indeed, John Wood Jr. is with me, and Paul got us off on another tangent. And I had some other things I wanted to address, but you were responding to my rant about oligarchy.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, it's interesting to see the historic commitment to a view of American society which says that freedom requires we not entrust too much power to single individuals. Now transform, and we're a country that rebelled against monarchy,
right,
rebelled against the king and the aristocracy,
dictators
and, so
and
forth.
monarchs.
Yeah, now sort of comfortably endorse the politics of personality, where sort of like a couple strong men, charismatic personalities are now in charge to sort of charged with making all of the decisions for us in some sense, or wielding enormous and exorbitant power over broad, sweeping aspects of American life, based largely on the fact that they seem to be successful businessmen who say the things that people want to hear, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
I mean, but look, we were talking a moment ago. I mean, I was always somebody who was very admiring of Elon Musk. I mean, he seemed to me to be somebody who's moving humanity forward, and I still admire the dream of getting humanity to Mars and whatnot. I mean, the idea to even think in those terms and to sort of plausibly talk.
So then you
in
love the
ways of
Jetsons.
advancing that project. I actually was more of a Flintstones guy as far as the cartoons go, but
Okay.
point taken. But it seems to me that, I was telling you off the air, Elon Musk occupies a position in American society, and not just in American society, but in global society, unlike anything that's ever really existed before. I mean, he's acquired X. He's acquired a personal audience of hundreds of millions of people around the world, feeding directly into societies, countries around the world, moving politics directly in nation after nation. And certainly in the United States of America, I do think that his support of Donald Trump was important to Trump getting elected this time around. And he's now essentially over a quasi-government agency meant to help guide the $2 trillion in government spending, or the reduction of $2 trillion in government spending, while simultaneously holding more government contracts than anybody in the world. It seems like the ultimate conflict of interest, and the only way they're able to sort of legally circumvent that is by the fact that it's not technically a government position, but the whole value in it is that it's being empowered as such. Doge, which he's named, after his favorite cryptocurrency, kind of reinforcing the personality politics dynamic of it. But then from his throne, from his kind of perch at X, he weighs in and opines on all sorts of subjects, and sometimes he'll say things that I think are reasonable. Other times he'll say things which just seem absolutely wild.
Well, they're lies. I mean, a lot of them are straight out lies.
Yeah.
He's now propagating this Malthusian, racist, new apartheid stuff about brain size, that black people have smaller brain sizes.
I actually missed that, so you're educating me on this.
I mean, this guy. That's why I call him new apartheid, just like Peter Thiel, also from South Africa. I know they were little kids when apartheid was abolished, but they clearly have a foundational philosophical worldview, and that syncs with the white supremacist sort of inner core of Trump. Now, I know as a conservative, some of the things you must be happy about, right? That Trump will do. I don't know, school vouchers. Supposedly shutting down the border.
Yeah,
LOL.
I am somebody who, of course, is in favor of school choice. And so
we have school choice. Vouchers means helping rich people pay for their private schools that they decide to send their kids to.
There are right and wrong.
We have school choice right now. You can go to any school you want.
Well, I mean,
that you can pay for.
Somewhat dependent upon your zip code and your ability to pay. Exactly, right? So the question is, how are funds distributed and on what basis? And I think there is a right and wrong way.
Certainly the billionaires that are whining about it have plenty of money to send their kids wherever they want.
Well, they do, absolutely. The point is that working class families and middle class families don't always.
Right. So we should drain the public school coffers and.
Well, yeah. I mean, like I said, there's a right and a wrong way to do it, and I think that if you can do it in a way that doesn't necessarily come at the expense of quality public school education, but expands the bevy of choice, then that's a good thing. But on the immigration front, I mean, I'm somebody who has long believed that we need to be adamant about securing the border, and I think that we've seen real consequences for the lack of really effectively doing that.
Yeah, we've got Elon Musk here. We should have kept him out.
Well, I mean, he didn't come over the border.
Well, his own brother confessed they were illegal immigrants when they came. So.
Oh, is that so?
Yeah, he did.
Okay.
Because he overstayed his student visa and then and worked illegally under a student visa when he wasn't even going to school, and then pivoted with his. Anyway, another show for another day.
But that was just the only point I was going to make about that, is that even on that area of, because I wasn't necessarily offended by the idea of, I didn't think a wall was necessary, but I'm not offended by
it's a waste of money.
But I'm not, but for me, it's like practical solutions to ensuring that the border is secure, whatever that looks like, as long as it's humane, I'm okay with it. The problem for me is that we are now moving in this direction of mass deportations, which I think threatens to which threatens to literally sort of rip apart American communities
and economy. I mean, let's be real. But where I was going with that is, I think to make the distinction, you agree with a lot of his policy portfolio, but your objection has more to do with the consolidation of power and corruption. Is that a fair assessment?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think that Trump's on the level of Donald Trump's impact on the culture, his ethical disposition, tendency to bend the truth or obliterate the truth,
lie.
And look, that is something you generally expect from politicians. So the fact that Donald Trump has taken that art to another level.
Yeah, politicians
but
lie, but this guy is
but that is my point.
Next level.
That is my point. That he has taken it to sort of he's taken it to a point to where people don't really expect him to tell the truth exactly.
But they embrace it as the truth.
There is this point of view which says that you can take Donald Trump literally but not seriously, or seriously but not literally. Right.
They believe the parts they want to believe, and they don't believe the parts they don't want to believe.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
It's kind of like saying, like, yeah, I know how he treats me, but he loves me.
Yeah,
I know where he's
being in a domestic violence.
Yeah, like I know
relationship.
I know where he's really coming from and everything. But the problem with that is that we should at least have a standard which says that the president of the United States and any elected official should be taken at their word, right? Their words should matter. And if their words don't matter, it means that we've essentially given people cover. We've given the president of the United States cover.
And
to be
normalized
able to,
lying.
Yeah, well, we've normalized lying in our culture, and we've made it possible for words and truth to have no meaning in the application of the powers of government. And the way that the state functions underneath the leadership of the most powerful man in the free world. And that is, I think, a recipe for disaster in American society.
Okay.
And we're back there.
Well, Paul Lee said he wanted to make one more point. Real quick, Paul, if you would.
Thank you so much, man. I love the conversation. Here's my thoughts on this. We're dealing with, remember, from a standpoint of this country has been built on deregulations at this point, and who gets taxed and who does get taxed. And when you're talking about Musk, you're talking about Curtis Yarvin, you're talking about David Sachs, you're talking about Peter Thiel. Majority of those people have come from other countries here to basically implement in some ways what they've grown up believing in apartheid, and we're essentially living through that. And that somewhat what they call dark enlightenment period is interesting, because a guy like Donald Trump won an election because people thought he's anti-establishment. But in reality, if you pay attention to what's going on, he's just one of the billionaires too, and he's actually the one they want in place, because if they cut him a check, he'll do everything they ask him to do. Thank you for your time.
Yeah.
David Sachs is the guy I was trying to remember. That's the PayPal guy,
right,
who's also South African.
Yeah, I'm going to have to reflect on this sort of South African connection to Musk and Thiel and Sachs and so forth. I have to admit, Dominique, I've never really thought about it through that frame. I've got, at this point, all sorts of criticisms of Elon Musk. I know people have concerns about Peter Thiel, too. Thiel's always seemed like an interesting person to me. I don't have a fully formed opinion.
He's the puppeteer for J.D. Vance.
Thiel. Well, yeah, he supported, that's right. He lifted J.D. up, and I think he hired J.D.
He bought
originally,
and paid for J.D.
right?
Vance, yeah.
Well.
As a senator and then as a vice president.
Well, okay, yeah. The thing I was going to... the thing I was just going to circle back around on, though, is the fact that I think that we're so deep in a culture of expediency in American politics. I'm just trying to get people to remember, like, what are your values? What are your beliefs?
That's a great point.
What are
get back to basics.
Yeah, what are the values and beliefs that people have that are more important than just muscling your short-term agenda through, even if it requires lying about things and breaking things in the process of doing so? And so this is why, again, years ago, I felt like Donald Trump was somebody who really was a threat to take the White House and do some damage, because our general sort of reality TV climate was such that, we as a people have become more and more that way. And
well,
so,
you called that one. Kwamel says LA Times owner Patrick Soon-Shiong is also South African. That's right. I always forget that, because when you look at him, he looks Asian, but he's also another South African-born billionaire with outsized power in our supposed republic democracy.
I'm about to go to South Africa for the first time, by the way. At least I'm supposed to.
Well, check that. I mean, this is going to sound crazy, but their white folks are really bad. I mean, you look at how far we are out, supposedly, from Jim Crow, and we still have racism, white supremacy. Now imagine apartheid, which is based on our Jim Crow system to an extent, along with the Nazi system, and they haven't done any kind of reckoning or, other than a little truth and reconciliation. There's been no 60s and 70s. There's been no 2020 there. Those folks there, I mean, it's a beautiful place. I couldn't live there because I would end up in jail from beating up white people that do macro aggressions while you're just going about your business. Anyway, continuing our conversation with John Wood Jr. and you when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
Now rolling for Duncan Shannon and their client CTPP. This radio spot is entitled Ryan, KICA 2023, ISKI code XCFSO 207000, and this is a 30-second radio spot, stereo monocompatible.
The first time I tried to quit vaping, I told myself that it was like a mountain that I had to climb over. And once I got to the other side, it would be clear. But I couldn't make it over. What really got me to quit was my little sister. I saw her vaping. So I was back in the mountain, but this time, she was up there with me. It's weird what you can do for others that you won't do for yourself.
Every attempt is part of your story to quit for good. Visit Kick It California today at kickitca.org.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. If you need help getting your resume in order, finding job training, or landing a job, we've got 3 great options for you. First, the City of Los Angeles has worksource centers across the area offering free job support. The California Workforce Development Board can help you with everything from GED prep to vocational training at no cost to you. On the federal level, the Department of Labor's American Job Centers offer a full range of services for job seekers and businesses alike. Visit careeronestop.org, or for more info, just call California's Help Center or visit cwdb.ca.gov or call 916-657-1440. For the City of Los Angeles programs, go to ewd.lacity.gov or call 213-744-7300. All these services are free to help you get your next job. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Somebody bring out the confetti, baby!
Starting Monday, January 6th, KBLA Talk 1580 has a new midday lineup.
I'm excited!
Are you ready for Tavis Smiley, Dr. Cornel West, Jesse Jackson Jr., D.L. Hughley, and E. Quarterly Corte back-to-back?
Oh my God!
Are you really ready for all this smoke?
I'm ready, brother.
Yes, we still have Dominique DiPrima in the mornings and Zoe Williams in the evenings, but middays just got lit on KBLA Talk 1580.
We on fire.
All across America, people are talking about our new midday lineup. Starting Monday, January 6th, our KBLA 1580 app downloads are on fire because everybody's going to be tuning in.
Yes, I love you guys. You are the bomb.
Now would be a good time to hit up SMB at KBLA1580.com if you want folks to hear about your business or brand. That's SMB at KBLA1580.com. It's going up in 2025 on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's going up. That's what I want.
Oh, could this vintage store be any cuter?
Right? And the best part? They accept Discover.
Accept Discover? In a little place like this? I don't think so, Jennifer.
Oh, yeah, huh? Discover's accepted where I like to shop. Come on, baby, get with the times.
Right, so we shouldn't get the parachute pants?
These are making a comeback. I think.
Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. Based on the February 2024 Nielsen report.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we do more than just talk.
You got a big mouth. Hello, Joe, you're up. Welcome.
We're unapologetically progressive, and we don't black down.
Always love talking with John Wood Jr. I'm going to have to lure you in here more often on a Talking Point Tuesday.
I'm not far.
You could know he's not far, but you could hear him Sundays at 9 for the Reconstruction Project with John Wood Jr. Every Sunday here on KBLA Talk 1580. I was kind of heartened to hear that Trump is already muttering that he's getting sick of Elon Musk. But I don't know if that matters, because if Musk is going to buy, they're now saying maybe buying Truth Social and other things that would yield lots of money for the president-elect. Back to your point about corruption and conflicts of interest. He may be around forever.
Well, it is interesting. I mean, I think that we've never really seen a situation like this. Where, I mean, you have Donald Trump. He's back as president of the United States. But you have Elon Musk, without whose support I don't think it's possible that Trump wouldn't have succeeded without Elon's help. Not just his endorsement, but just sort of, the platform of X, sort of, lifting
Plus
up
the
and amplifying
$250 million he paid.
His actual financial support, et cetera, et cetera. But it has the makings of something that feels like a potential co-presidency, really. I mean, does anybody think that Elon Musk will have less influence in the administration than J.D. Vance, for instance?
Where is J.D. Vance, John? Have you seen him?
It's interesting how quiet he was over the H-1B visa controversy. And that controversy highlights the split, I think, within the America First sort of movement and coalition. Because, at the end of the day, I mean, I hear what you say about Musk being influenced by apartheid, et cetera, et cetera. But, I mean, Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy strike me as ultimately people who are business people, right?
Yeah, predatory capitalists. That's his. If there's a genius, that's his genius. Getting other people's companies, buying them or forcing them out, and then giving himself credit for inventing them.
The generous interpretation would be that they're individuals who prize merit over native status with respect to the people they wish to hire in the American workforce. And as such, they want to bring the best and brightest from around the world to come here and work in American companies. Now, you could say that that's really just a matter of exploiting for lower wages.
It is, because that's exactly what Musk did. He laid off all those people from Twitter and tried to brought in immigrants at lower costs.
But what's interesting is how offended half of the America First coalition was at that, because from their vantage point, America First means Americans first, and what that means is that you hire domestically and so forth. Right?
It should mean that.
Right. Well, so this gets back to my point.
I mean, that was the only upside of that crap.
On my point of the populist front, because obviously there are plenty of people on the left who feel that way as well. But that is a divide within Trump's voter base. And so the thing about Trump, though, is that unlike other presidents, and Donald Trump has never struck me as somebody with a very well-defined worldview. I mean, he's got his instincts. He's got, he loves tariffs. It's the most beautiful word in the English language. More beautiful than love. Those are my favorite Donald Trump quotes.
More beautiful than
Melania. More beautiful than love. Tariffs. But he doesn't really have a philosophical point of view so far as I can see. And so it seems like he leads on the basis of making deals with different people.
I consider white supremacy a philosophical point of view.
I don't know that Donald Trump is a philosophical white supremacist. By the way, I think
the man who took out a full-page ad against the exonerated five, who had to be sued by the U.S. government twice
but my only point
let
about
black
that is
people
that
live in his houses, who put all the black people in the back of his clubs,
you
and
can
used those
go
special
down,
visas
there's a list.
to bring in white people from Ireland.
But isn't there a list that's equally as long about ways in which he has lied about, exploited, and abused white people and people of all colors? See, that's my thing about Donald Trump.
So he's a corrupt white supremacist.
Well, I mean, but again,
oligarchical elitist.
Or he's an equal opportunity abuser and exploiter and so forth.
So you're
right?
saying he's an egalitarian liar?
Well, is that not a thing? I mean,
no, it's not a thing.
It is a thing. You've got people who lie to everybody. I think that
right,
Donald Trump
but that doesn't mean that if it walks like a racist,
bill. I will say that I
like
think
a
that
racist.
he's willing to speak to those sentiments for his own purposes, right? I think you get him up in front of a room of black people, and he's willing to pander in that direction too. So
but even his pandering has white supremacist flavoring.
Well,
you're my Negro. You're my black person. You're my N-word. I bought you. Anyway, I wanted to circle back to what you brought up about RFK, because I think the taking fluoride out of the water, taking on big pharma, some of his talking points remind me of things we've talked about on shows of mine when we get into holistic health. But I don't see it so much as the conservative and liberal spectrum as the sort of holistic, it could be what they call the Ankh right, the Hotep conservatives. And I think all of this makes it into a big mashup that creates confusion in which is not going to serve us.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know, and I also don't know how viable or how much airtime any of RFK's views are actually going to get should he be confirmed, right? Once the administration gets rolling. But it is interesting that he's there, though. It is interesting that he's bringing this very different set of ideas into an arena that has been anything but friendly, the Republican Party, anything but friendly to those sorts of perspectives, I think, historically. But now that the populist strain is become so strong, it does seem like there's flexibility and openness for a lot of people on the right to some ideas that would not have really been considered on the menu in previous times.
And you consider that a silver lining. I mean,
well, I'm curious if
I
you
want
do
to
as
take
somebody
on Big
who I
Pharma.
know is sympathetic
I want to take
to some
on
of
Big
those,
Pharma too.
Some of those positions.
Yeah, but
he's also sympathetic to some of the pro-labor positions.
Right, but RFK Jr.'s solution to Big Pharma is different than mine, diametrically opposed. My solution, universal health care. Medicare for all. Is that where RFK and Trump are going with their crusade against Big Pharma?
Well, I doubt it. But, it's been interesting to watch an individual like Cenk Uygur, who obviously has been, from the Young Turks, very progressive, individual and populist.
In certain areas, yeah.
Yeah, who has been, I think, nothing but hard on Trump for all of these years, working to try and find common cause with folks within the MAGA movement. And, he makes the point that he's discovered that the MAGA movement is not necessarily monolithic, that there are areas of populist common ground to be built upon.
Well, either that or he's the progressive Morning Joe and he just wants to keep working.
Well, again, that's the less charitable interpretation, But I was curious from your vantage point. I mean, the one silver lining about Trump not necessarily seeming to have much in the way of fixed principles as a kind of philosophical worldview from my vantage point is the fact that arguably, at least, there may be areas for individual deals that could benefit the American people to sort of come to fruition if some new voices are brought into this coalition. And if there's a populist dialogue that's able to sort of seize in on some of the things that you might agree with, maybe there's opening for some breakthrough in those areas or not.
I hope you're right. I'm going with that. I hope you're right. John, thank you for coming in. It's fun to talk with you. BraverAngels.org is where you can find him, or Sunday mornings at 9.
There you go. Thank you, Dominique.
All right. Talk soon. And we're going to get ourselves organized next with Sasha Escandon after News, Traffic, and Sports on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 things you should know from BIN News. Vice President Kamala Harris announced Donald Trump as the winner of the 2024 election, stating America's democracy stood. After the Electoral College count, she highlighted her duty to ensure a peaceful transition of power. Overall crime in New York City dropped 3% in 2024. Police Commissioner Tisch noted a decline in murders, burglaries, and transit crimes, but rapes and felony assaults